Coming to you live from the Stream.tv studios in Hollywood, California, Pensado's Place is brought to you by Vintage King, the Blackbird Academy, Avid, Recording Connection, Studio 202, Slate Media Technologies and Slate Digital, and Audio Technica.
Brad Smith's baby brother Chad is here. Yes, it would be that one. Our own drummer, Cole Nystrom, is going to join us live. We got some updates for you. We're going to introduce a Mike. Baby, it is just drum heaven here at the place. You're at the place. It's Pensado's Place.
What a day, Herm.
Been too many days in a row where we've been saying what a day.
Yeah. Right. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the AEA microphone.
Huge day. Huge day. I was emotional driving over about it.
That's kind of cool. No, Chad, man, I've been talking to him a little bit yesterday and a little bit before we came in. What a cool guy, man.
God, should we just get to it?
Let's do it.
A lot of stuff.
Does it feel like we haven't been here in a while?
It does. We've just been crazily busy. But
we were last week, right?
Yeah, we were. We were here last week. God knows.
Man, AES. Woo.
Shall we sally forth?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll sally forth. Hey there. How was your week? We trust both good and productive. Got a chance to spend real time with all of our sponsor partners over the weekend. That's what Dave and I were alluding to, which we'll talk about in a second. Vintage King, Blackbird, Audio Technica, Slate, Recording Connection, Avid, Studio 202, all were present at what turned out to be an outstanding AES convention, literally. Mm-hmm. Hats off to Bob Moses, Michael McDonald, and the whole AES team.
Absolutely.
For getting it really, really right. I want to get your perspective on that. Right size, right panels, easy parking, plenty to do downtown, a ton of major names, and a smart and fun environment. Even the right volume level on the floor, which is something surprisingly important at an audio convention, right? You want to be able to hear. Dave and I owe a ton of thanks. Thanks to all who came out to our Platinum panel on Friday. It was standing room only. You guys sold it out. Thanks to the folks who showed up at the Pensado Papers book signing. About 150 of you bought the book. Thank you for that.
They had to pay for it?
While you were over there making fun, I was over doing commerce, but that's okay. Don't worry about it.
Do I get a piece of that?
No.
Okay, good.
And finally, to all those who participated in person and through social media in the Reddit AMA at the Audio Technica booth, we had a lively Q&A. Had a bunch of cool people show up on the sidelines. Mike Klink, Al Schmidt, Ed Cherney, and Alan Meyerson were around. In the house in general were Alex the Kid and CLA and No ID, a bunch of our friends who are sponsors. Kim from Isotope, by the way, Ozone 6 is coming. Stay tuned. Erica from UA, who actually gives a serious hug. Remember we were walking and Erica jumped up and grabbed me?
I don't remember that.
That hug is serious. So if you guys get a chance to get a hug from Erica, please do that.
I love Miss America.
We saw Colin from McDSP and a whole bunch more. So, Dave, I calculated with parties and dinners included, in 72 hours, we had 11 appearances.
Wow.
That was a ton.
Was I there?
You were there for about 7 of them.
Good.
So, anyways, what was your impression of AES?
Well, there were several moments, but a lot of my favorite moments came from the Audio Technica booth and from the Platinum panel. Our audience at the Platinum panel was about as cool as we've ever had in front of us. The questions were great. The sincerity was great. They had a high tolerance level for my classic Oscar Wilde smartassness, tempered with a little William Faulkner, of course.
It was classic that day, by the way.
Oh, thank you. But they were just wonderful. I mean, I probably learned more than they did, and I don't know how to say this, so you can help me frame it, but you were spectacular. I mean, you were just engaging. Normally, I formulate my questions and what I'm going to say while you're talking, so a lot of times I miss what you're talking about. But you were so engaging, I just couldn't think up questions because I was listening to you.
Well, Michael McDonald did a great job. I think you're right. The questions, what we noticed afterwards, which is a really ode to you guys, is that the questions were so insightful that we literally we left and actually sat down. We talked to Will Thompson, our producer, and Hal Leonard folks, just about how smart the audience was, and it allowed us to go another place. I thought Michael McDonald was a great moderator, and we have never done that where the cameras are sort of turned on us.
Yeah. Oh, he
and we
did a
just
great
talk.
job.
Yeah,
didn't
I
he?
thought it was fabulous.
You know what? Let me toss this in too, because I've probably been a little more than kind to some of the previous AES outings. They've always had something about them that I thought could better represent the community, you know, and AES does a really good job of it. But this was perfect.
Well,
it was
spectacular.
great. It had life. It had new blood. It had people that really wanted to be there, and it was open to everyone.
Highly recommend that if you're not a member of this organization,
That was the best one yet.
that you should become a member of the organization.
Yeah.
We were highly enlightened. They had talked to us earlier. They had made a concerted effort to make it really custom for you, and they did. I mean,
They did.
they succeeded on every level. I actually reached out to the head honchos this morning. I have some ideas, and maybe they want to listen to them. But that's an organization we can get behind.
But you know, people forget. A lot of times, people think when AES is over that that's the end. But that's not the end. They've got incredible resources online that's available that I used a lot when I was coming along. The papers can get a little technical, but that's okay. The first few times I read them, I didn't understand anything about them, but they're a great resource.
Yep.
So it doesn't just end with the convention. It goes on year round. They're good work.
Really, really good stuff. Let's go back to the Pensado Papers really quickly. We've had a few questions from our international audience, and so we want to address those questions. They've been about, if you order the book, are you going to have to ship from America? The good news is no. You won't have to pay shipping from America, which would be way, way expensive. The book will be available in about 2 weeks or so in your local market. It'll be available both in-store and online, and also in ebook format. So no exorbitant shipping fees from America. Just wanted to get all that cleared up because we've had a few questions, which are great questions. We're happy that you're asking them, and we'll make sure we'll take care of you. Here's another funny thing. Our audience, which includes all these amazingly creative folks to begin with, have been up to some cool Pensado stuff. You know, periodically they'll just create something for us. So did you see the Pensado Place Pro Tools screenshot?
Yeah, wasn't that cool?
Oh my God, it was so
That was very cool.
It was so cool. So you see it right here. Notice all the details, all the pics at the bottom, all the things that they pulled together. Great job, Damon Martin. Great job. As soon as we got it, I was like, we got to put this on the show. So you see it right here. We love that kind of stuff. We encourage it. Send stuff to us, and we'll post it and point you out.
I want to go back one. So if somebody orders the book and it's shipped from basically their continent or their country of origin, is that true on every place you can order or from online, like Amazon and everything, or is that just okay? Good.
Yep. The
I didn't know that.
Hal
That's really
Leonard.
cool.
Hal Leonard is the biggest in the world, and they make sure that people can pay fairly for what they do, which is why we did the deal with them. So nobody's going to have to overspend to get the book in hand. The reality of it is that international books will be available in about 2 to 3 weeks from local and regional distributors, which makes it cost effective. Speaking of Damons, now I want to give a shout to somebody close to that. That would be Damian Smith. Damian Smith is a good friend of the family. He manages Earth, Wind and Fire, Jennifer Hudson, Raphael Sadiq, and he is a mentee of mine, probably as if I have a legacy that will be left.
He's close second, I'm first.
Precisely.
Okay.
And both of them absolute stars.
He's way ahead of me. He's a good first.
No, so Damien and his lady Natalie just had their first child. Noah Symphony Smith arrived on Tuesday around 2:30. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's good. We are proud of you, Dee. Well done. Natalie as well. And Noah, welcome. Can't wait till Uncle Herb and Uncle Dave get over to see you.
Nobody deserves a family more than Damien. Herb mentioned that he was a mentor to Damien, and during that time period, Damien handled my day-to-day, so we were in the trenches every day together, and he's a special guy.
He was a star from the beginning.
Yeah.
Lucky enough that I had him for a few years, and then even better that I could hand him off to somebody like Irving Azoff, and he's just rolling. Really proud of that boy.
Congratulations.
And then last but not least, we're going to do a little live thing. Colio is with us. Cole Nystrom is sitting here.
How you doing, guys?
Our friends at AEA, Wes Dooley's great boutique company, just announced a brand new mic, the N8, which is part of their Nuvo series. Cole, you've gone over and taken a look at it, right?
Yes.
Tell me your initial reaction? Let's open that boy up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was very excited. So this is their new N8, which was something that they based on of the N22. It's the same kind of structure and everything. It's got the active phantom power ribbon microphone, which is incredible. But the thing that's great with this is that it's got a very high SPL. You can throw it right onto drums, and you can just be hitting those things, and it still will work right through it, man.
It also
it's
works
great.
on 10-penny nails, 16s, all the way down to 8s.
Absolutely.
No
Absolutely.
joke.
Yeah.
That's where you got those sounds.
You can't ruin that thing. That thing takes so much sound pressure level.
Now,
It does.
from a drummer's perspective, good for your usage?
Yeah, incredible for drums. We were recently at Blackbird, and we got the chance to use them on some room mics, which was just sounded incredible.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, we didn't really have to do anything, and it just
Really?
fit right in, man.
I don't know quite how Blackbird got them for us, but we'll go over that later.
Yeah, we'll talk to Wes about that. Price point, right where it's sweet spot for folks?
Yeah, it's with the N22 and this, it's right around $800 to $1,100, which for a quality ribbon mic such as these, it's absolutely incredible. And it's so versatile too. It's not just drums, it's horns, strings, vocals. There's so many different applications for this mic.
This mic is kind of cool because AEA is Wes Dooley.
Yeah.
And Wes supervises everything. And the cool thing about Wes's products is Wes, you see him from time to time walking around with a top hat and everything. And just been a guy like his pores exude ribbon mics. I mean, it's he's one of those cats that you just love being around. And these two mics have his personality all over them. That's why they sound so good.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's a really good point.
Absolutely.
Our man Brad Smith and Hal Leonard, we met over the weekend. We're meeting all these honchos about our book, and all of a sudden somebody says, "Oh, hey, Brad is Chad Smith's brother." So we just go, "Wow,
went
incredible!
berserk.
Must be a nice guy. He must be a nice guy." And then he goes, "Hey, maybe he'll do the show." We said, "End of book signing. Let's go talk to Chad." And lo and behold, through the magic of La Familia, we get to welcome to the table, sliding into home, Mr. Chad Smith. Safe. Absolutely.
Best interest yet, 180 guests. That was the best interest
The best
yet.
interest. Man, thank you.
Yeah,
My
Chad.
pleasure, gentlemen.
Man,
My
it's
pleasure.
So
We are-
much fun.
I owe Brad everything.
We do too.
Big Brad.
We are honored by your presence. Our audience and our team and so on and so forth have been crazed. Let's start at the beginning with this incredible journey.
Chad, first of all, thanks for hanging out with me yesterday and today. Man, I'm impressed by the lack of a safety net that has pervaded your entire career, dude. You walk on the edge and you don't care if you fall or not. You haven't yet. I hope I'm around for
Well, I
that
haven't
train
told
wreck.
anybody.
Yeah.
But explain to me how you get from a bedroom in Detroit to one of the top 5, top 2, top 3, top 1 drummers in the world.
Well, let's see how much time we got. I
Grew
grew
as a small black child.
exactly, and I was Herb. You guys didn't know that. Boom. There you go. Look at him. He's got it.
Cool.
There he was. Everything I know.
There you go.
Yeah, I grew up in Michigan, outside of Detroit, and my older brother Brad, as we've alluded to, he's getting name checked more in the first 2 minutes than he has
Ever.
And he was a huge English rock blues, hard rock blues music fan in the late 60s through the 70s, and I listened to all his records. And I started playing the drums when I was 7. At a young age, I just, for whatever reason, was attracted to it, liked to hit things, the usual stuff. And, around the house, and went from ice cream tubs to, a little Karisky's drum set to a real drum set. And my parents thought, oh, you're kind of going to stick with it. All right, let's, do your paper route and we'll put up half and you put up half,
Very
that kind
cool.
of thing. And so my parents were very supportive. And I just was really fortunate to find my passion at an early age. And that music that my brother turned me on to, along with all the stuff I heard on the radio as well, in Michigan, obviously the Motown seeped in, and that period of time was such an exciting, creative time for music, rock music, and other kinds of music. I loved, bands, Sly and the Family Stone, and and you know, as well as a lot of American rock bands, The Doors and Grand Funk Railroad, everything as well with Cream and Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin and The Who and Humble Pie and Mott the Hoople and Pink Floyd and Bowie. My brother just loved all that stuff. So that's really got me started in my drumming style, so to speak, from a lot of great drummers. Deep Purple, Ian Pace, probably one of my favorite drummers. And that got me on the road to wanting to do this forever.
Well, I was going to ask, once you started, was it...
No stopping.
Yeah, was it pretty evident that you were going to stick with it?
I never stopped playing. I always did other things. I played sports and you know, but music was always what I wanted to do. It was never like, oh, I have to go practice. Oh, gee, I have to. I wanted to.
Yeah.
I just was, again, fortunate that I found that early. And, you know, once you become a sort of a rebellious young teenager.
Gotta stick with it, bro.
You know, I have to say, I was really fortunate that I had music in public schools in my junior high and in my high school. Even in my grade school, I started learning rudiments and reading drum music in 5th grade. And then in junior high and in high school, I played in all the bands and was fortunate they had concert band, symphonic band, marching band, jazz band. We had a music theory class in my high school. This is a public high school outside of Detroit, like I said. So a lot of those programs are gone now in public schools.
Yes.
And I wouldn't have never graduated. I didn't give a shit about science and biology and math, and you know, those are all fine subjects. But the music, I stayed for the music and really helped me get to. I probably wouldn't have graduated high school.
Formal training past the public school programs, or was that?
No, that was
so
it.
Everything else was just you and
just me and putting records on and you know, and playing with other people, and luckily I started kind of young, and I would always kind of try to play with people that were better than me. You know, if they put up with me, you know. But that kind of helped me elevate my game.
Say that again. That's important. Playing
It
with people
is.
better than you.
Yeah.
I was the same way.
Yeah, when you're, you know, I was a young, you know, I was okay. I could, you know, keep a beat, keep time. I had some natural sort of abilities, but to play with other musicians that were the better really helps you get better as well.
It's really, you know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you play with better athletes, your game is going to either be tested or you're going to raise it one way or the other.
So like Herb was talking about in the intro and earlier in the show, about the affinity for funk music that you've incorporated into your style. That's been a benchmark of your career from step one. How did that come about? Was it the Parliament? Was that the first time you were like exposed to that? Like, you know, Larry? Fran Tangelo?
Yeah, Larry. I played in a group in 1982 in Michigan called Pharaoh, that I'm sure no one's ever heard of. We did do a record, the Record Plant Mobile Unit brought out, and Dave, who's the guy that did all the, Dave Hewitt.
Wow.
Right? Who's like the guy that did all those Westwood One and go and
Ryan's father?
Yeah, that's Ryan's father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Dave Hewitt. Right. Who Ryan we've worked with. I worked with Ryan and Ben.
Yeah.
And Dave brought out, it was a new truck, and they brought it out because the owner of this place called Pine Knob Music Theater felt that his music theater was the greatest sounding music theater ever. He was a little nutty and wanted us to record there. So they brought in this mobile unit. Dave Hewitt remembers is like, that crazy guy, Joe LaCricchio, thought he was a gangster, and he was and he was like, I got the hell out of there. But I played with the percussionist of that group. His name was Larry Fratangelo. And Larry played with Parliament Funkadelic and lots of other people, Aretha and in Detroit, and he played with Nita Baker, Earl Clue, he was like the guy, the percussionist. But he was in P-Funk, he did One Nation Under a Groove, and he was the percussionist in the band. And Larry was a little bit older than me. I was probably 20 years old at the time, and he was probably 30 years old. I don't know if Larry, 29, Larry. And he was, you know, he played with Dennis Chambers, and like he played with really good, accomplished musicians, and I was kind of a little bit of a rough, I don't know if I'd even say, I'm more like a rock than a gem, but I was definitely, I could play, but I was playing the drums and I wasn't really playing music properly. Like I didn't know, and Larry helped me learn about what and why you do the things and choices that you make on your instrument and how that helps make a song. Dynamics, doing little fills or things to introduce new sections, how to play with the bass player and or the other melodic instruments, just kind of arrangement 101 stuff, what makes, how to build a song, and just the musical choices that you make are so important. And drumming, and I was in a big group, we had 6 or 7 players, and so it was, I was this real supportive role. And he's like, it's about the groove, man, it's making it feel good, it's so important. And we would play together and he would do all this crazy stuff and try to get me off time, and it was, and he would pick me up and we would drive together to rehearsal every day, and we would put cassette tapes in back in the day, and he would play me stuff like Tower of Power, and he would play me Meters stuff, and he would play me, Sly. I knew a lot of Sly stuff, but like he would pick things out, like look in the, see, right before the solo in that Tower of Power in that song Soul of Actionation, the drummer goes BAM! On the one and then lays out and doesn't put the snare until the bar afterwards. And that brings everybody down, because if you're playing quiet and they can't hear anything, they gotta come down too. Like just like little, and I'm like, so here I really went to school, and Larry was, I can't thank him enough. I really at that point felt like I became I became a musician instead of a drummer.
That was the quote that just kind of got me. Was that's the day he went from a drummer to a musician.
Well, it took a lot of days.
Yeah, true.
But that period of time, we played together for a year.
Is there a Chili Peppers record early on that you felt exemplified that growth into that project with that concept, the application of that? Does something come to mind?
Yeah, I would say when I joined the Chili Peppers in '88, and we started recording shortly after I joined. I was the last guy to join, the guitar player at the time, John Frusciante. We had been in the band a few months.
Sure.
Great.
18 years old.
Amazing.
young prodigy, so to speak. But like, they were all like, let's get a drummer and let's start recording and let's go. Right. And Michael Beinhorn was a producer, and so they had a few songs in there already kind of worked up, as I recall. But we sort of wrote them all together, and a lot of our songs come out of improvising and jamming. Certainly back then, that was a big part of our creative process. Yeah. And it's still to this day, but back then I remember it, and everything was really hard and really fast. And this is a record called Mother's Milk. And I was just like, this is amazing. I'm like, one day I'm like, got $20 in my bank account. I'm like working,
Things have changed.
And like all of a sudden I'm standing on a sock on my dick and for Spin Magazine. I'm like, I'm in the band. This is great.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's rock and roll.
Yeah.
Welcome to LA.
But we that's how I knew of them. And actually, it's so wild because the connection. In 1984, the Chili Peppers did their second record with George Clinton in Detroit.
Oh, wow.
And this was post-Pharaoh, when I had played with Larry, and we had kept up as friends. And I'd see him once in a while, hey, what have you been doing? He does a lot of sessions. I did the session for George. These crazy kids from California, man, like Red Hot Chili something. And they're nuts, and things I won't go into here. But and he's like, but you probably like it. It's pretty cool. And I think he played me like a little bit of one of their songs, like, I don't even remember what it was, but it was that second record that George did. So that was the first time I heard that, and I was like, cool, yeah, all right, yeah, whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, the guys with the socks on their dicks, oh yeah. Like a lot of people. But it's just, fast forward, and it's all, as they say, history by now, but.
Was that the impetus to move from Detroit to California?
It was not. It wasn't. It wasn't. No, I played in lots of bands, and as I was talking with Dave earlier, right out of high school, I started playing in a band right away, and we played 6 nights a week, 3 sets a night, in all these Detroit clubs, all around the Detroit Tri-County area, as I call it. And I did that for a lot of years, about 6 years, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm a professional musician. I'm playing these stinky, beer-soaked, smoky, in my bare feet, walking around with beer bottles. Like, I was a kid. I was 18. I felt like I was in Led Zeppelin, man. It was the greatest thing ever. I loved it. So people went, when do you feel that you would become a success? I'm like, then.
Yeah.
I was making $165 a week. My mom was, when are you going to get a real job thing? But I was so happy, and it was great. Of course, I would have loved to have been in, all of my idols and all the bands that I loved and everything,
But those lessons during that time were invaluable.
Invaluable. And
How to deal with a crowd, how to deal with
everything.
things that don't
People
work.
show up.
Yep.
And it's, I see a lot of kids these days, and often they ask me, like, how can I make it, or how did you do it, or and our culture now is so, the quickest path to possibly get there, that they don't understand that it takes hard work.
Yes.
You have to put the time into it. You can't have your one little beat, I'm ready for freaking Madison Square Garden. It doesn't work like that. You have to.
That was my problem.
See?
You didn't tell me.
Sorry,
See?
man.
It
We're
was
gonna
the
meet
film.
later and
It was
talk
the film.
about it.
You didn't have the film.
Hey, Chad, so your personality creeps into everything you do. Can a kid with a boring personality play like you? I mean, part of woodshedding and all those clubs, barefoot at 18 with beer bottles on, was what gave you the personality you have now, and the motivation to get that into a record. You got to have those adventures. Sometimes it's not the time it takes to get good; it's the time it takes to gather experiences, so you have something to play when you get good, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
I
right.
said that pretty good. There's no point in elaborating on that.
No, that was
You can beat
perfect.
that.
I couldn't have said that any better.
Well, thank you.
No, that's it. Life experiences. You need those, and the more that you, the more that of those that you get, it only enhances everything that you do, and your personality part. We were talking earlier. Drummers like Keith Moon and John Bonham and Stuart Copeland and even a guy like Neil Peart, who I went through my Neil Peart Rush phase that a lot of drummers do at my age, maybe later. But he's very analytical, and you can tell his drumming is all very well rehearsed and perfectly the parts, and they're great and awesome. But that's his. You meet him and you talk to him. That's his personality. He's a great guy, but very like
Orderly, organized.
yeah, which is great, and he also writes the lyrics for the band as well, and you meet Stuart, and he's more he's kind of loud and kind of aggressive a little bit, and you like makes sense. Keith Moon, we all know about Keith Moon. John Bonham, we know.
Yeah.
But those are the people. That's what I want to. I want to hear that when you can, especially a non-melodic instrument, when you can get your personality to come out. So many drums today sound the same. I can't tell who's playing.
Yeah.
They sound very similar.
Yeah.
Why is that? Is it they all use your pearl snare? Which isn't a bad thing, I guess.
No. It's funny that you should mention that, because I just had this wonderful experience of going to England 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I got to go to the south of London, a place called Headley Grange, where most famously Led Zeppelin recorded a lot of their records, Zeppelin 3, 4, and Physical Graffiti. And it was a family resident that was the old workman's house on a 17-acre farm. And I think back in the late 60s, it was a little bit derelict, and they were looking to rent it or trying to get some money for it. And they rented it out to Genesis first, who did Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, And then they rented it to Led Zeppelin for Zeppelin 3, and subsequently they used it on 4 and the records I said. But it's been a family home for 40 years, since 1974, and no one's been in there.
So nobody's
to
played
record.
it.
No one has played since Led Zeppelin did Physical Graffiti there. And so a friend of mine in London said, hey, what do you think about playing at Headley Grange and recording for this company, Spitfire, who does sample sounds?
Yeah, real good sample.
A really good company, and they're branching out obviously into drums. And I was honored that they chose myself and Roger Taylor from Queen to come in and play. And so I got to record in the foyer, in the spot where John Bonham recorded When the Levee Breaks, one of the most iconic drum sounds ever.
How about that?
I'm going to go change my underwear now.
Okay, exactly right.
I'll be right with you.
I mean, it's one of those places, it's like a bucket list that you not even on your bucket because you didn't think it was available. You can go to Abbey Road and Electric Ladyland if you have money and you can record there, but this is a place that's been a private home for 40 years.
Right.
And they, luckily, they opened it up for a weekend. They didn't move out or anything, but
God, how did that, while you were doing it,
What does
did
the
you
room
feel the
look
weight
like?
of it?
I answered. I came in and I literally no, I didn't want to go in. I couldn't even go in because I'd seen the pictures of it, and the mobile tracks outside, and I'd heard the other guys were saying sounds amazing. I'm like, I'm just gonna go in there. It sounds like shit because nothing could do. I mean, and the spirit just makes you play that.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I don't sound anything like that, but it was just amazing.
What was the texture of the walls? What were the walls? Were they brick? Were they like stone?
It was plaster. The in the foyer, where he did track the Levee Breaks, and I had the good fortune of doing a record with Andy Johns, who recorded, God rest his soul, who recorded that record. And so, of course, after the sessions, we'd all ask Uncle Andy and tell me your stories about Led Zeppelin and the Stones, and he had tons of them. But he, I'm sure he'd been asked it a million times, but, being a drummer, I said, what was that all about? He said, well, they were tracking some other stuff in the other room, which was a very smallish, not a big, you'd think Led Zeppelin and, Kashmir would be this cavernous or a larger room. It was a regular living room, not a high ceiling.
Oh, really?
A regular. They must have. I'm sure they did some baffling but it wasn't what I expected. But then the foyer, right when you walk in, was tile on the floor and mostly wood and just plaster, just a regular
room.
Regular room. But the stairwell went up three more levels, and the stairs would go all the way, and the banisters, and everything that would break up the sound, so it wasn't that hard reflective. And there were beams in the middle, there were lights on and beams, and so I was like, okay, it was just one of those lucky things. And Bonham's Tech one day just brought in a new drum set. This is what Andy told me. Brought in a new drum set. Ludwig had delivered a drum set, and the other guys went down to the pub, and John and Andy stayed, and he set up the drums right there in the foyer, I think because that's where they left them.
Yeah.
And Andy was like, oh, the foyer sound really good. And either John was playing already or something. Andy put trying out the drum set, Andy put 2 mics down, and Jimmy Page had some old Italian echo pedal, and he put that on it.
And that was it.
And he said, John, I think you're going to like this. You want to come in the truck and hear this? And Bonham came in and went, bloody cannons! That was a good thing.
Perfect. No, absolutely.
Yeah, so to play in that, and he's like my favorite drummer, my favorite band. It was just
amazing.
Yeah, I'm floated home the
Wow.
whole way. Yeah, it was incredible. So I think those sound. So to go back to the sound thing, if you want Chad and/or Rogers Taylor's Headley Grange drum sounds, they'll be coming out on Spitfire, and shameless plug in December at some point.
Shameless.
No, it's a good thing. And ultimately, given the success that you've had, making that choice is something that you have to be sort of careful about. It has to be a company that's going to do the right thing and really treat your stuff well. So for you to make that call Says a lot about the company.
Yes. I mean, it wasn't a lot of arm twisting. It could have been like Joe Blow down in his garage.
We could have done it.
But if you say you get me into Headley Grange, I can record for Led Zeppelin.
Done.
I'm going.
Done.
But
Absolutely.
it was a bonus that they were nice people. Everything was very professional, and I did kind of check them out online, and they had some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, Brother Brad again. I called. Have you heard of Spitfire? He goes, yeah, they look legit.
That's Brad.
Yeah.
Well,
Not
our
a bunch
crew
of
says-
gangsters. What is it?
our crew said good things about Spitfire, right?
Oh yeah, of course,
Yeah,
of course. I'm curious. Be kind. So if I'm mixing,
Be gentle.
If I'm mixing, and I'm working on your drum kit.
Yeah. This is. I bet this is what you love when you're mixing, and you're just like getting the sounds going. You're not like, okay, I want to hear something. I bet you love this.
If it were you, it'd be okay.
That's
Okay.
what he calls me.
Okay, so I'm mixing, and I add a sample. Let's say I add one of the samples that you just created.
Yep.
And I added it back into your snare sound. I didn't change the sound. I just filled it in with a couple of nice little things. Would you be mad at me?
No. I would be mad at you. I don't get mad at you.
Would you hire me again? What's the tolerance?
I didn't know, I'll tell you what. If I didn't know, and you just kind of get, it doesn't necessarily have to be mine or anybody else's. As long as what I find with drums, and we're very organic. We're a band that plays live, and we track live. And very little, we want it to sound like you're sitting in the room with us. We
Yeah.
don't. We're very, especially Rick Rubin's productions, often for our band, are very just right here.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever sort of augmented, as far as I know, and maybe he has and didn't tell me, but I wouldn't, if I didn't know, if I'm not looking at you doing your thing and it sounds natural to me, and the dynamics, that's the thing, like, if you lose the snare, and to go back to Mother's Milk, Dave Thoner mixed that record, and he used samples on the snare drum, but these are the days where they took all the dynamics out of it.
I wouldn't do that.
So we're doing this song, Subway to
Usually-
Venus, is kind of funky, and these little like ghost notes on the snare, and it's like, I didn't play like that.
Right.
It sounds like shit.
Right.
Yeah. No,
So
you can't
in
do
that way, it's like,
That's a
we
problem.
got much better equipment now. But also
Right.
too, one of the things I'll do is sometimes I'll get a snare mic that's got too much hi-hat in it. So when I'm trying to get the top end on the snare right, I'm killing myself with hi-hat. So I'll find a spot in the song where he played a great snare hit without the hi-hat.
Right.
And so I'll mix that in just to drop the hi-hat mic down, That's
Yeah.
usually what I do.
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and it's the drum that he was playing on that
Yeah,
song. It wasn't.
yeah.
That's not like a separate song.
Yeah.
I think recording a drum set, and that's the thing. It's a drum set. I always look at it as
One instrument.
one instrument. And one of the things the drummers set up, and cymbals are here. You gotta. I think your drum set needs to be balanced, and you need to make it easier for the engineer if the drums in tone and the cymbals and how you hit stuff, and a lot of guys just bash the crap out of the cymbals, and they can, as you know, I'm sure you guys know, that just ruins your drum sound because
Hard to get out.
yeah, you can't, and the hi-hat and stuff. So you need to learn, and I think it just takes time and experience to learn how to balance your kit. So if you're standing away and somebody's playing, or if you're playing, or you can record yourself just with one mic and say, I can hear everything. Oh, snare's kind of loud, and or this cymbal or whatever, but work on that and think of it as a whole instrument.
When you're creating, and you're working with Michael Anthony or Flea or these people are like icons, and you're sitting there and you're working out a part. How does that process work? Is there a record that you can take us through that the creation part of when you sit down with the band, or do you start with just Flea, or does it start with a guitar player and
Or do you guys just jam?
Yeah, with the Chili Peppers, which is, but they're two different scenarios, mainly because they're two completely different guys.
Yeah.
But with Chili Peppers, as I spoke before, often a lot of our writing process is the four of us get in a room and we improvise and jam.
Yeah.
And most,
But
mostly
at some point, you've got to come up with a verse, a chorus, a
yeah,
bridge.
and that's so that can be when you play with the same people for a while. You kind of know where each guy's going to kind of go, or what kind of feels right, and you know, I'm going to change, yeah, and a lot of nodding and like,
Right.
musicians nod, and not often, but sometimes you can almost get what started out as a jam can turn into 3 parts, or maybe a verse and a chorus, or a verse and a bridge, or something. You know, just being musical instead of just going back and forth between 2 parts. We've kind of gotten to that point where we do that. It doesn't mean that we're trying to write a song every time we jam, but sometimes, often, we record everything and we'd be like, oh, that thing we did on Tuesday, that's really good. That one part's really good. That could be a good verse. That could be a good chorus. And maybe build off that and try to come up with something that would go well with it. And on other times, I mean, like a song like "Give It Away," one of the songs that we played a million times, was like a jam, like a 20-minute jam.
Right.
And it's like, this is a song we play in the freaking Super Bowl. You know?
Right.
It's like, you just never know. And that came out of a jam, and literally, and then they laid out, and I'm keep going, and Anthony's like, give it away, give it away. And I mean, sure, we had to arrange it, like you're saying.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Like,
yeah,
like
the arrangement
does
part.
Flea tell you that would you change a part because Flea said it was conflicting with one of his parts, or vice versa?
You know.
I don't know why that's important to me.
It is. It's interesting because people have asked me that before. Like, do you guys talk about your parts and maybe in the beginning more so, and certainly I would say less so in the sort of early parts of it, and the jamming part, and the just trying to find out what feels good, and we kind of know each other well
like a
enough
team.
to like what works. I know if he's playing something a little more melodic or busier back in the slapping days, I'm staying out of the way because it's just going to clutter up the bottom. Or if it's a you know, a song like "Suck My Kiss," there's syncopated beats but there's room around them. I'm gonna accent those to make it more powerful. You just kind of, after years of doing it, you just kind of know. But I think that the main thing is that when it comes down to when we start working with a producer and doing pre-production stuff to trying to make our songs better, and the arrangements and make sure the parts are all right, then we'll do a little bit of the sort of, okay, what are you doing again there? Should we anticipate that goes, that kind of steps on the lyric or something else. So then we'll kind of tear it apart a little bit more, but we never overthink it too much.
Oh, that's cool.
We kind of keep it loose.
Now
know?
you also like doing session work. Is that
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that give you a chance to get the other parts of Chad off and do that?
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to leave Michael Anthony out.
Oh, yeah,
That's your
absolutely.
question. But Mike, when we did Chickenfoot records, those were done really quick. Like with Chili Peppers, we'll write for 6-9 months and come up with 40 songs and whittle them down. Chickenfoot, we did like 11 songs and did them all. And Mike, I'm sitting there, you know, when I grew up, Van Halen was like, I loved the early Van Halen.
Yes, indeed.
The band and everything. And it's funny because Sammy, I'm in a band with Sammy, but I prefer the David Lee Roth era. You know,
exactly.
It's like two different things. Sammy was great, but I love Sammy and Montrose.
Right.
That first Montrose record is like my favorite. When we first met, I'm like, because he met in Cabo, and he's like, you know, I'm gonna come down and jam. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know any like of your songs. I can't drive 55, maybe, but I don't know the Van Halen. And he's like, I go, but I know the whole Montrose album. He goes, great, we'll do it.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
very
James
cool.
Brown and whatever, you
Right.
know, Doors. It was great, but like, yeah, I love, and Michael's so solid, man. He's just a rock, and he does that 8th note, do, like, or whatever, 16th note, or depending how fast it is, and he's just like very musical. Picks up stuff really quick, like Joe will bring in a riff, Satriani, and Mike is on it like that. Like he's just like, he's a total pro, super sweetheart, and I just look up and I go, I'm playing with Mike Anthony. I'm 14 again.
So those songs tend to start with a guitar riff, a la Jimmy Page type situations,
Yes.
where that.
The Chicken for what Joe brings stuff in. He demos his stuff at home a little bit. He's got a home studio. and he kind of sends them this day and age. You know, he MP3s everybody, and I like that one. That one's pretty good. And if Sam, especially likes something that he can sing on immediately, then that'll be something that we'll work on. But it's mostly it starts from Joe, and then Sam will kind of chime in on what he likes. We all do, and then we would go up and make those records like quick, you know.
You just reminded me of something, because sometimes when I watch you play, I see the kick drum beater getting close to the drum, but it never hits it. I guess you call those ghost notes. What's going on with those ghost notes? Why are you hitting the pedal but not making a sound?
You know, I'm a little hyper, and take it from my mom, and I'm always moving around a little bit, and I think that's part of just the way I am. But I think for me on the drum set, I like to keep everything moving. If I'm not playing the high, even if my toe is on the pedal, and you guys can't see that,
Put your foot on the table.
But I can.
All right,
There we go.
So now if you
There you go.
so if you're on the hi-hat like this,
Yeah.
and you have foot's down, it's still bouncing though. Like my limbs are always moving
I always
around.
thought that was cool.
Perfect.
Oh
It
shit!
is rock and roll today, baby.
He kept his clothes on for 30 minutes.
Well,
That's
and
all we
also
can
there
ask
was a
for.
fly on him, and I was gonna pop it.
I
but we
got
don't
it
know each
too.
other. It's in your hair right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what?
Herb just wants to slap my
I
ass.
just got it.
Oh, good.
I did a black thing to it.
But
Dave, jump up on the desk and do what you do with your foot when you're
The
missing.
fly is really liking you.
what's the Spanish thing?
Or it could be just body
And
odor.
midgets. What's
Yes.
up with that?
Day
Flies
three,
and
Day
midgets.
3, guess 0. Well, no, guess 200 for the desk walk.
Well, here's one of the things we need to do because the clock is ticking. Why don't you warm up your arm and let's get ready for
I'm
batter's
ready.
box.
I'm ready.
Wait for the audience applause. He knows how to do that. Let's get batter's box going and we'll fire some stuff up.
Okay.
Here it comes.
These are the one word.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Now.
Fred Astaire or Gene Kelly?
Fred Astaire.
No.
Didn't you just see my dance moves?
Absolutely.
That's why I was
question.
asking that.
Amazing.
Okay, don't count that one. Huh? Okay, birch or maple?
Maple.
Ooh, guitar.
64 Strat.
This bastard.
Were you,
RHCP.
what, a Les Paul? You're a Les Paul man?
No, I like your answer.
Okay.
But I'm trying
Bastard.
to win. I'm trying to win this.
Oh, you want to win?
Yeah.
Oh, you want, okay. Okay, go ahead.
The person that wins this gets a pair of Depends.
Could have used it
RHCP.
before at the beginning of the show.
I know.
Problem is they're
No.
used. He already has them on.
Whoa.
As a parting gift, Chad, we give you Dave's Shoes
Let's take 'em
Depends.
off.
Thanks.
There's DNA in it though. RHCP.
A red hot chicken peckers.
808s.
Boom!
Okay, this is a tough one. Tambourine or cowbell?
Oh, see, had to bring up the cowbell.
Of course.
More cowbell.
I'm sorry.
Oh, man. I
apologize.
thought, this show has just
Right. It had such
class and
promise.
integrity
And
and,
then
like,
down
I'm
the
like,
tube
they're not
it
going to
went.
bring up the you-know-what
Exactly.
guy or that you look
Sorry.
like.
We'll edit this.
Let me remind you, I'm the host once again.
I'm in charge.
Tambourine or cowbell?
Cowbell!
I knew it.
Last
Click
time.
track.
Drummer's friend.
Whoa. Ambient,
And I don't really use them.
ambient or dry, and we're not talking underwear.
Ooh, God.
Well, I guess
ambient.
Zeppelin, yeah.
Ambient.
Okay. This could be a good one, man.
Oh no,
This
he's
is
giving me the look.
I am. Drum solos. I personally hate them
I don't care what you think.
because as
Talking to a drummer.
they cut into my guitar solos.
Oh,
The chicks come see guitar
the
players.
chicks love drummers. They've got the rhythm.
That's right.
We got the rhythm. Here's the thing.
2 and the 4.
I love guitar. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
You're
really
losing
quick.
points. I'm trying to help you here.
I know drum solos. I would say no
Okay.
because I don't. I
I'm
mean,
gonna say this: your drum solos are spectacular. I'd give up 8 bars of a guitar solo for you any day, my friend.
be my band anytime.
so lovely.
8 bar, a whole 8 bars.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I thought
11
20,
bars.
I thought 20 minutes. No, but music. I mean, rock and roll. People want to tap their feet and they want to sing along.
Yeah.
And so drummers and singers, so I
can't deny
know
that, my
where
friend.
you
I can't
lead.
deny
I mean,
that.
when you do your mixes,
That's true.
what are some of the loudest? What are the loudest things in the mix? Often.
Vocals and drums.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I rest my case.
There you go.
If your house, heaven forbid, hey, come on, guys.
I got a golf clap over there.
You guys see me every week. You see him like once every 5 years. If your house caught fire, what one piece of gear would you try to get out first? Assuming your family's safe, and your children, your dogs, your pets, your iguana, and your porno collection. What?
I would burn the house would burn now with me in it.
What one piece of gear? Play along with me, Chad.
I'm
Come
trying.
on.
I'm trying.
That incredible 5-inch snare that your name's on.
No, you know what I do? This probably wouldn't be the one. I do have a Gene Krupa snare drum.
Wow.
No shit.
Yeah, but it's in a museum somewhere. But that's a pretty
That's a special
invaluable. You can't replace that. You know.
Hard to say.
Yeah, that I would say, God. It
What's
probably
wrong with
wouldn't
that
be a
answer? That's a
musical
great
instrument.
Well, that's the whole point of this show, man.
I know. That's why I'm trying to play
keep
along. I
going
went with
over
the
ahead?
Gene Krupa snare.
Okay, good. Okay, and easy.
It's not in my house.
Buddy Miles or Mitch Mitchell, Jimi Hendrix drummers.
Mitch Mitchell. I love Buddy Miles. Sorry,
Yeah,
Mitch Mitchell was my guy.
yeah. How do you do, Herm?
He did great.
You're still swayed by the dance routine, right?
How can you not be?
Yeah, that's a good
Look,
point.
man, I have a close affinity to rhythm.
I want to bear his children.
So you do?
Yeah.
We should talk later.
Okay.
Let's
Why did
introduce.
you get there first? Though?
Yeah, man, because I
It's a
was.
new
First
world.
thing he said to me when we met, he goes, "I'm not gay,
But we should talk.
but we should." I love your brother.
So dramatically. Corner office. Our man Chongor Gantz is over there. Chongor,
John Gore,
you got a couple of questions for our guy?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hit it.
This first one's from the one and only Will Thompson. How do you approach how you play your kit live versus in the studio? What important information should less experienced drummers know before going into the studio for the first time?
Oh, great question.
Ooh, heavy.
Sorry, the beginning of it was the different. Sorry.
How do you approach how you play your kit live
Yeah.
versus in the studio?
Okay. There are two different animals, and what I've found through the years is live I tend to play really hard and a little bit more. Studio, when you're playing on a record, it's a document that is going to hopefully live for a long time that people are going to listen to, and it's something you really want to make special, that one performance. The way that we record our records, certainly with the Chili Peppers, we all play together, and we really go for that performance. So just to be really focused, and the drums, for me, I don't hit as hard because I've found that the size drums that I use, I tend to choke them out. Like a 12-inch tom, if you just whack the crap out of it, it doesn't sound as good if you play it in a more, less aggressive way, I guess. But you're very excited and want that energy and want that focus and dynamic. So there's a fine line of trying to have that, like, you're really excited and you want to play really well and you want it to sound really great. And it took me a while. I used to just beat the crap out of it. And you kick a kick drum as hard as you can, and you get a lot of smack. I mean, it just is what it is, no matter. To me, I found what the drum or the room that you're in, but if you can play it at 3/4 speed, you're still hitting it hard, but you're giving it a little. You're not sort of like inhibiting it to breathe and speak well. Right. And that's for me in the snare drum too, man. I crank the snare. Often people ask me about, that snare drum sound on Blood Sugar Sex Magic. How did you get that? And there's so many variables, as you guys know. I can tell you the type of drum. It was a Black Beauty, and the head I used, and the sticks I was using, and who the engineer was, and it was a SM57, and all those things come into play, and the mic pre's and the Neves and all this technical stuff that I don't know anything about, but that you guys do. But it's the guy playing.
Yeah.
and you could get 7 different guys to play on that same drum set, and they'll
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
sound different.
Absolutely.
And when you're playing live, you're also putting on a show.
Exactly.
That's a different animal.
And the sound places we play, you know, they're not made for music. They're made for basketball and hockey and and football and stuff. And you know, there's been great advances in live sound, but you know, you can get away with not a perfectly tuned drum set or you know, there's a little more room for error. You guys know in the studio, man, that mic is not lying.
That's right.
It's
Totally
naked,
true.
and that air and everything that gets in it has such an effect on the sound. And live, it's a little bit different. And like I said before, playing a song that's going to be there once on a record, I want that to be as great as it can be, and exciting and interesting and musical. Not saying I don't care live, but live, you know,
Go for it.
We kind of go for it.
Go for it.
We've been known to go for it. And you know what? If I fuck up, I get to do it the next night.
Absolutely. That's right. Chongor, go for one more.
From Bob Lavender, do the Chili Peppers record all the rhythm parts together, or are they laid down one at a time to a guide track? What's your preference?
Already answered that.
Well, I play all the instruments in the Chili Peppers, so we do it one at a time. I drum first, then I play the bass, then I do most of the guitar, sing, then I go back and do the solos, then I do some percussion, and if there's any keyboard or samples, I do that. Then I mix and walk the dog and have dinner. No, we play all together. Got to, man.
That's how it works. The clock has moved fast, which really, so let me tell you a bit of detail that you might not be able to pick up, which makes this so cool. On Chad's shirt is a tag that has his name on it, not because he doesn't know who he is.
Sometimes I don't.
Well, there are moments. Sometimes that's good.
Who are? Oh,
But that's because he was at a parent-teacher conference for his kid. For
that's
us to have a rock star of this level who is such a normal, good-ass
got it.
dude.
You call that normal?
family.
Oh, yeah, that's normal. For a rock
That's
star.
normal for me.
That's tapped down, man. Are
my
you
kids,
kidding?
man. My kids are that's
Front and center, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Front and center.
Love them.
What a pleasure.
Herb, thank you so
Oh,
much.
no, man. Thank you, brother. Here to David P.
This guy can have his own. We should I would love to sit in the audience one day when you just tell your Florida stories.
Oh,
We can do that. The other part, too, that we know is
Thank you.
important to
You're
you
so great.
Thank you,
is
thank you.
education.
Yeah, absolutely.
So without being a pest, that's big on us too. Maybe we'll follow up and figure out something cool we can do on the
yeah.
education
Would love
side.
to. That'd be great. Yeah.
What a
Sure,
pleasure.
sure.
Dave, take us home.
oh my gosh, man. We'll see you next week.
See you. We're out.
I'm out. What can I do?
I'm done.
What?
I'm done.
Chad, take us home real quick.
All right. Yo, you got Pensado's
Give me,
place.
give me,
up. Oh.
give me the Tom's drum solo from Inagata DeVita, real quick.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Drive safe. Tip your waitress.